Kenny Cunningham is with us this morning. Kenny, good morning to you.
Morning, lads.
Does Aaron Connolly automatically get into the starting lineup after being our best player in the tiny cameo that he had at the weekend, or what's your take on this now?
No, I think that's stretching it a little bit, Jared, to be honest with you. I mean, he impressed a small amount of time that he was on the pitch, and clearly he strengthened his argument for inclusion in the starting lineup Tuesday. But I think you just got to trust Mick to make the right decision. I'm sure he'll assess Aaron over the next couple of days. On a lot of different levels, I think, Jared, just in terms of like mentally where exactly he is. I was at the game now over in Georgia, and I was interested in even watching Aaron walking towards the touchline, taking those 4 steps in the senior international football, and shoulders were out. The body language was good, Jared. You know, he gave a sense of, yeah, I'm ready for this. Yeah, let me on. I can make a difference here, and that was a good thing to see a lad so young. I mean, I'm trying to think back to my first cap for Oran. It would have been the opposite emotions I would have been feeling, kind of a lot of dread and nervousness, that type of thing, you know. But it looked exactly the opposite where Aaron. He played that way when he came on. So, although I wouldn't say he has to start, my gut feeling tells me if he carries himself the next couple of days and trained the way he probably has done, and that kind of air of confidence about him, the way he spoke there, I caught the tail end of the interview, gut feeling tells me Mick will find a place for him in the starting lineup. What position, depending on the system Mick plays, we're not too sure, but I'd probably lean towards maybe a central striking position, just because we'd like to keep him as high up the pitch as possible. I think we saw that with his last opportunity. Glenn just popped the ball over the shoulder the last 2 centre-halves in a central position. I think when you play in a wide position, particularly against Switzerland during the week, we're going to get pinned back. Our wingers are going to get pinned back into almost full back positions at times, very deep. And that one player we'll have the luxury of keeping a little bit higher up the pitch will be our kind of number 9. So if Mick does elect to choose him, and gut feeling tells me he probably will, I'd like to see him in that central striking position, because we can actually keep him a little bit higher up the pitch towards the halfway line.
Yeah, did Collins work as a striker at the weekend, or maybe, Kenny? We've had like 48 hours roughly since full time. In your assessment, what went wrong for us that we were unable to keep the ball or create chances that were in any way meaningful until the last couple of minutes of that game, the weekend?
Yeah, no, I suppose you could argue we've had this conversation on a number of occasions over a number of years, Jerry, even back when we played. So I had a little bit of sympathy for James up front. I thought his work rate was fantastic. Physically, he tried to put himself around him, around the pitch. He wasn't going to be bullied by any of the Georgian defenders, certainly, but probably not quite enough. The ball maybe stuck when it came to him. And his defence, I'd say, in terms of the quality of ball into him as well, Jared, as well. And you're right, in terms of the quality of our football, maybe through the thirds, and our ability maybe to, you know, deliver good quality ball into us, not only his feet but the wide players high up the pitch. No, it wasn't great. It was what it was. They were really feeding on scraps for the majority of the game. And even those couple of chances late on, I mean, Aaron's first chance really came about a heavy touch from a Georgian defender. It broke to him at the edge of the box, and obviously the Glenn the pass was when we were defending deep on the edge of our box, and that quick counter-attack, that ball over the top, which I think will probably be our best asset against Switzerland next Tuesday. So I wouldn't get too downbeat in terms of like analysing the game, why we're not passing the ball and bigger picture stuff. We haven't got ball lads who, you know, retain possession of foot, because I don't honestly think that's going to be key in this game against Switzerland Tuesday. For me, I've no problem with us sitting a little bit deeper, but if we do get pushed back against Switzerland, which I think we will, because they're a very good side, for me it's about having the right players on the pitch who can break quickly and hurt this Swiss team, because I think if they have got weakness in their team, it's across the defensive line, because the presence of Schär there, good footballer but not the most mobile. It's Lichtensteiner plays at right back, very experienced player but can't run. So for me, get as much kind of energy, legs, kind of dynamism in the team as possible in those kind of midfield and wide areas, forward areas of the pitch, and I think we can really hurt Switzerland, particularly on counter-attacks.
Yeah, and look, I totally understand how that's exactly how we would play this game against Switzerland, but it is coming off the back of one of the most abject performances that we've seen from Ireland in a long time. That performance was of a par with anything that the bad end campaign of Trapattoni, the worst days of Martin O'Neill, and it was Georgia away when we had the opportunity to be the aggressor and to go and try and win the group. Like, victory in that game would have set us up very nicely for the last 2 games here, but instead we've handed the impetus back to our opponents. And I'm just wondering what it is that we couldn't have approached that game slightly differently.
I think I wouldn't agree with you totally there in terms that's as bad as we've seen. Not in all aspects of the game. I think probably from a creative point of view, Jerry, in terms of quality of football, maybe creating good goal scoring opportunities from our general play. There wasn't a huge amount there. I'd agree with you there. But I think in terms of maybe a little bit of kind of the organisation team, defensive organisation team for me is better. When I look at the team today, I see a few little patterns there in terms of when we're going, where we're going hunting the ball, when we're going, which is good to see. And I think defensively we were kind of sound the other night, particularly two centre halves. I thought were absolutely great in terms of anything that came into the box. So I take your point on a bigger picture. I don't think psychologically the lads will be on a huge downer. We're doing all the permutations after the game. It looks as if one win, basically that's what we were saying, one win from the next two games if Denmark and Switzerland win their other games. And for me, this is the one, this Swiss game. I wouldn't want to be going into that Denmark game. I know it's a home game, but we all know what that's like, Jed. The pressure on the lads' shoulders, the tension around the Aviva and the must-win game, last game of the group. So for me, it's all about this game Tuesday. Actually, I think this is our best opportunity. And like I said, I look at our team, the bench, the players, particularly in attacking areas of the pitch there, and I think we've got really good options in there. Like Callum McDowell, that people probably haven't been talking about for a starting position. The ability he has to take the ball up the pitch in possession and out possession in the football. Aaron, of course, will be strong favourite to start the game. James, there's one or two others there. Maybe even a slight change of formation. Maybe a 4-2-3-1 I've been looking at for a couple of games. Just sacrifice one of those central midfield players and get a second striker playing down the middle. Aaron Connolly wants to play the line, play him up there. Maybe play Callum Robinson just off in his preferred number 10 position, and a couple of wingers either side. People might say, it's a little bit too bold. That's crazy stuff. Not really for me. Like, there's a calculated risk to it, but for me, maybe even a small little tweak in terms of formation might even help us. But I'm still confident going into the game Tuesday. I take your point in terms of the quality of our football, certainly in possession against Georgia. But I still feel as if the type of game we're going to face against Switzerland, if we get our setup right, the personnel, I still feel as if we can hurt Switzerland and get the win that we need in Switzerland as opposed to at home in our last game against Denmark.
Kenny, I know you're out of time. One last bit, apparently McLean gave the ball away 25 times. Apparently Harahan gave it away 20 times. Do they keep their place in the team when they're giving the ball away with such proficiency?
Yeah, but I think, Joe, you can't just isolate one game, can you? Say he's got to be out of the team off the back of his 90 minutes against Georgia. Make a look at their contribution during the whole qualifying campaign. So he's not going to panic off the back of maybe one below par performance. And you're right, in terms of quality of our pass at times, maybe Connor, even Jeff, I'm a huge fan of Jeff Hendrick, but he couldn't impose himself on the game. James wasn't quite there generally in terms of having an impact on the game. Can't drop them all. You've got to trust the players. It was a below par performance. You've got to trust them to produce the type of performance we know they can. But you are right, you got the likes of Alan Brown. Like I said, that midfield three again, which has kind of served us quite well, but again, could you sacrifice one of them? Maybe Connor coming out of the team and bringing an extra forward, an extra striker into the team. Mick might look at that. We have played kind of 4-4-2, 4-4-1, whatever you want to call it, albeit against Gibraltar. But there's no reason why it can't work even against higher class opposition as long as you're organising your setups to do it. So Mick's got some big decisions to make over the next couple of days. I'm really interested in seeing him flying out to Switzerland now tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to the game. It's a big challenge for the players, but I think there should be optimism there. I understand where you're coming from in terms of it, in certain qualities of the performance against Georgia, but I think there's more to come from us, and we're better than that. And the attacking threat we have in the team, for me, gives me real hope going into the game against Switzerland Tuesday.
Well, I hope he picks them. Kenny, good stuff. We'll leave it there. Thanks a million.